Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Love Meets Literature. I know it's been a while since you've heard our lovely voices, but we are back, and we are back with some paranormal thrillers today. Before we begin, I am your host, Rachel, and you can find me on Instagram at Paperbacks and Sketchbooks.
And I am your other host, Joe, and you can find us at Love Meets Literature.
You can find us everywhere on the internet, so please do give us a follow. It will help us immensely. So, you may have noticed that this episode is still paranormal thrillers, even though it is after Halloween. But I figure, hey, that's okay, because to me, paranormal still screams fall. And even though we're past Halloween, it's still fall. It's still cold outside. You could still tell ghost stories around a campfire.
Yeah, I agree. Until like the first snowfall, I don't think it's like quite Christmas yet. It's still kind of Halloween vibes, and fall definitely falls into that.
True. But Christmas can still be associated with ghosts.
That's true, because like the Christmas Carol and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of things can be associated with ghosts. And I'm very much looking forward to learning about some of these paranormal thrillers we've selected today. But before we jump into that, how has your reading been going? It's been a while since we last chatted. You came down with a little bit of a cold there.
Yes, that was not fun. So because of travel for work and then a cold following that travel, my reading was not that good the previous week. However, this week has been really good. I am so incredibly close to finishing the Tower of Swallow Witcher book. I'm like at the last 50 pages, I think. And it's been incredible. This book is way better than all of the other ones so far. It has like incredibly interesting characters. It has had great plot points. It's finally like making sense for a ton of the stuff instead of people just like running around. Like they're actually doing things and like making progress in the story. So it's been very like action packed and plot forwarding, which I guess he had to do because there's only one book after this. So time to start wrapping things up.
Oh, yeah, you're nearing the end.
Yes. I mean, technically, there's 2 books, but the last one in this set is The Lady of the Lake. And from what I understand, that was kind of the official ending. And then there's a latest book that is, I think it's like a collection of short stories again, kind of like the aftermath. So I don't know how in depth it goes, though.
Well, hopefully the ending to the series is satisfying, because there's nothing worse than finishing a series and the ending is not what you were expecting, or it's like not what you were expecting, but in a bad way.
Yeah. And I've talked about it before, so people know that I am an ending person. It's very
Yes.
important to me. So he better not mess it up, is all I'm going to say.
Do you think you know what's going to happen at the end?
I have some suspicions on how it's going to end. They've built up a lot of different kind of plot lines, and the whole point is they're all supposed to converge. The part that I'm worried about is there's a specific character that I don't really like, and it's kind of the way that the story is building. It kind of seems like he's going to be relevant at the end. And I don't know if it's going to be like the love interest or if they're going to like kill him off, or I don't know exactly what they're going to do. All I know is that I don't want him to be the love interest because I find him annoying and like it wouldn't make sense for the story, but it just feels like that is on the horizon. So it's kind of like, you know, when you have this like movie or something or a TV show, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, wait, we forgot to write in a love interest. So let's like put this totally random character that doesn't really fit anymore or anywhere.
I hate when they do that.
Yeah, they just muscle him in there and
Yeah.
or her in there. Sometimes it's flipped, but I just don't like him. And I hope they kill him off. It would make more sense story-wise anyway, in my opinion. But
Well, I guess you'll just have to find out.
yeah, I'm going to have to hurry up and finish this one and then start reading the next one. How has your reading week been?
It's been pretty good, actually. I feel like since we last talked, I've read quite a few books, or maybe I'm just delusional in thinking that. But my most recent read was actually one that we've discussed before, and that was Red River Road by Anna Downs. It is the one that follows van lifers in Australia. And I actually really, really, really liked it a whole lot. I gave it 4.5 stars. It is a thriller, but it's more of a mystery because this girl, Katie, is trying to figure out what happened to her sister, Phoebe. And along the way, she unconventionally meets this other girl named Beth, who introduced herself to Katie as Lily. And they end up just going on this journey together to figure out what happened to Phoebe, this van lifer who went missing. And I thought the story was really well done. Like, I did not see the twist coming, and I think I'm happy with the twist. It's like one of those where I was like, I don't know, because I feel like we got the twist kind of early on. And then the last maybe like 80 to 100 pages was describing the aftermath of the twist, which I thought was interesting. Usually in thrillers, you don't get that much closure with a twist. It's usually just, this is the shocking thing that happens, or the shocking thing that is revealed. And then it's like 20 pages of wrap up and then boom, done. So I actually kind of liked that though, because it explained why everything is the way that it is. And I also thought the story was like, it had a more important message to it because it did discuss a lot of social media and posting your whereabouts and stalking. And I think it was just a good reminder to never reveal where you are on social media and where you're heading next, because you never know what kind of creepy person is out there stalking your account and trying to actually meet up with you in real life.
Yeah, that's a pretty good point. It is unfortunate that we have to take precautions, but
It is, but I thought the author did a very good job at kind of like sneaking that lesson in there while also still staying true to the story.
yeah, that is cool. Now, do you think you prefer, in this case, how you got the aftermath of after the twist?
I guess it depends, because the way this author did it, she like kind of over explained everything and kind of like went into the depths of the twist, because like this wasn't your average twist, and I really don't want to say what it was because it's like major spoilers for the whole story. And if I even say anything remotely of what the twist is, the entire story is not going to be exciting anymore.
Gotcha.
So, I do like that she explained it, because I feel like I would have been like, wait, what? Like just super confused if she did not explain it. So it depends on the twist, because this one was more of a big reveal. It wasn't like an action-y kind of thing. Usually for popcorn thrillers, I like when it just gives you the twist and then quickly wraps up. I don't need the explanation. But in this instance, because this wasn't a popcorn thriller, it was like mystery-esque, investigative kind of thing, I liked that it was explained.
Okay, that makes sense. I think the way you're describing it, at least, I think that's how I would have preferred it as well, which is probably why the author wrote it that way.
Probably.
Because there's some times where, like, I keep thinking of like Criminal Minds. There's some times where I'm like, I kind of want to know like more after the episode, so to speak, was done.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
what happened to the town? What happened to the people? Like, they usually do a decent job of showcasing, you know, a little bit of this or a little bit of that. But every once in a while, you're like, I want to know more. So that's kind of what it sounds like.
It was really good. I think you would actually really like it. I really liked the Australia setting. I felt like I was actually going on a road trip through Australia. And I thought the whole van life concept was really interesting, and I thought it was really well done because she explained like the campgrounds that they go to, the resorts that they might stay at for like a day, visiting all the sites along the coast of Western Australia. It was amazing, and I feel like I want to go to Western Australia now.
Did it make you want to be a van lifer?
No, I absolutely don't want to be a van lifer. I never want to be a solo female traveler because this book really freaked me out in that regard.
Well, I guess I don't blame you.
Yeah, but apart from the lesson in oversharing on social media in this book, I thought it was also a good way of reminding solo female travelers to always stay on their guard and actually don't post on social media where you are.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like everyone nowadays just has to be more careful about travel. Like you can't be sharing things with everybody or letting people know. I know a big one for a long time was like, don't tell people you're going on vacation because then they'll like rob your house and stuff.
Well, yeah, that I feel like that's still a big thing. But I don't know. I feel like social media has just like taken over the world. So people are just oversharing and sharing all their adventures without even thinking about it.
Yeah, true. I guess it's a nice little reminder.
Yeah, it is a nice little reminder. But Red River Road by Anna Downs, super good. It was the first thriller that I've read in a very long time. I've kind of been like on a romance kick for a little bit and a fantasy kick as well. So it was kind of like a breath of fresh air reading a thriller again. And now that's all I want to read, which I'll get to what I'm currently reading at the end of this episode. But thrillers, I think, will always be one of my first true loves.
Well, I can see how they're very appealing.
They are. They're so, so good. And anyone who says that they don't like thrillers, I understand because some of them are scary. But also there are ones that like aren't as scary. Like you just kind of have to like find the right ones for you. And like when you figure out what types of thrillers you like and can handle, I think like there's a thriller for everyone. And I do think people that say they don't like thrillers just haven't found the right thriller for them.
I think that's true. I mean, there's a ton of different varieties of thriller. Like today we're talking about paranormal thrillers. You just mentioned kind of that like mysterious, almost investigative police officer style thriller. I've read a couple of those that goes into like the investigation that's essentially like a Criminal Minds episode or a Law and Order episode. And then you've got other ones that are a little bit more like gore focused, and maybe it's the victim of the circumstances point of view. So that can be a lot scarier and again gory and stuff. So it's kind of finding the niche of the genre that you like, or this genre I should say. But
yes,
that is true. There is a variation for everyone.
Yes. And if you don't like creepy stuff, I've found that young adult thrillers are also really good because it doesn't go into like the whole like gory creepiness, and they're genuinely not as scary as an adult thriller. Young adult books can still be good. So don't let it, just because it says young adult, like don't let it like dissuade you from reading it, because I've read young adult thrillers and I would like to say that they are equally as good as adult thrillers. It's just without all the creep factor.
Right. Or nastiness.
Exactly. So paranormal thrillers. What exactly is a paranormal thriller? Well, it's kind of just like a ghost story. It's your average thriller where a crime is going to happen, obviously. But the twist is supernatural. And that's what we will be discussing today. Have you ever read any paranormal thrillers? Ghost stories?
I was thinking about that earlier, and I want to say that I've read some stuff back when I was younger. Like it feels very familiar, like almost not Nancy Drew, but there was like a series that I feel like I remember reading, and I can't think of what it was called. I was trying to look it up earlier.
Was it the Hardy Boys?
Oh, that might have been it. That sounds super familiar.
Read some Hardy Boys books. They're children's chapter books.
Yeah.
Like the Nancy Drew ones, but it's two brothers. And I really liked those. Those were really good. I remember reading those.
Yeah, I know. I don't think I've read anything in recent times that would be considered paranormal at all, not just a thriller. I don't read a lot of ghost stories.
Neither do I, which is why this episode is going to be very enlightening for the both of us. And I feel like it's going to really turn me on to wanting to read ghost stories. I feel like I've avoided them in the past because people have told me, oh, they're not that good because it's supernatural twist. But hey, maybe they just didn't like the supernatural twist. I won't know until I try.
That's true.
But again, before we jump into these paranormal books, I like keeping everyone on their toes. What are you obsessed with this week?
I am obsessed with these cookies that I made.
Oh, yes. You just made some cookies and they were delicious.
I'm grabbing my recipe book here, Dessert Person by Claire Saffitz.
Don't worry, the background noise just adds some ambiance.
These were the oat and pecan brittle cookies, or pecan, depending on where you're from. They are incredible.
They're so good.
They took a very long time to make because you have to chill the batter for at least 12 hours before you bake them. It says in the recipe that you can do less time, but they don't come out as chewy. And I think the chewiness is kind of what makes the cookie. So I would definitely recommend it. Just make everything beforehand and then you can bake it the following day. This was surprisingly easy. I thought I was going to struggle with some of the parts because you have to make a pecan brittle that you break up and it goes in the cookies into like the batter, but it actually wasn't that bad. The only thing that I did have to get though was a food processor.
Yeah, but we found one on sale at Target for like $17.
That's true. You could definitely get away without using a stand mixer. I think you could easily do one of like the hand mixers, but you do need a food processor for this. Even a small one, like mentioned from Target, definitely works. But they're incredible. They're also like just massive cookies. They're only supposed to make, I think it's like 18 or 20 or something like that. And I came out with about 20. And they're so good.
They're the perfect fall cookie.
Yeah, they are.
It tastes like fall. It tastes like I'm eating fall.
With the oats and the like toffee brittle, it like melts down in the oven. And then it gives you that like chewiness. I thought it was going to be crunchy or some parts of it, but the whole thing is just like a good chewy cookie.
They're so good. I'm dreaming about pecan cookies now.
They're over in the kitchen. I might have to go grab one again after this.
No, they are delicious. Do you have any idea of what you are going to try to bake next?
Yes, I think I want to try the brownie recipe that's in this same book. I can't remember what she calls them. It's like ooey gooey brownies or something like that. But they have malt powder in them. So they have like a malty flavor. Which I know you're not a huge fan of malt, but I love malt.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of malt, but I mean, if you make the brownies, I'm going to eat them anyway. So
Well, that's fair. I think that'll probably be next on my list as far as baking goes.
All right. I look forward to that.
What are you obsessed with this week?
I think you already know the answer to that, and that would be Mario Kart. It is all I've been wanting to do. I kind of go in phases sometimes with video games. So before, I only wanted to play Dreamlight Valley 24/7, but then I kind of got bored of it because I like unlocked all the biomes and whatever. And now I have like more quests I need to do, but they're just very complicated and I just haven't felt like doing it. So I turned to Mario Kart instead. And now I am obsessed with trying to get 3 gold stars in every single Grand Prix. And it is not easy. It's not easy, but I figured out that the character of Isabelle in her little bug cart is what I am really good at playing as.
How many Grand Prix do you have left?
I have a lot. So I completed all of the 50 and 100 Grand Prix. I got all my 3 gold stars for those. I am currently working on trying to get all my 3 gold stars for the 150. I'm getting there. I've slowly made improvement, but at least I've placed top 3 for all of them. And I'm also working on the mirror races. I haven't done the 200 yet because it scares me. It literally says you will need to break on the opening page for the 200 Grand Prix. So, I'm just avoiding that for now, and I'm just going to try and get 3 gold stars for all the 150 in the mirror races.
To clarify for the people unfamiliar, what does the 3 gold stars mean?
It means you get first in every single Grand Prix race.
So of the races of that cup, you have to get first in
You
every
have to
single
get
one.
first in every single one. You need a full 60 points.
Wow.
Yep. So that's what I'm working on. If you get, let's say, if you get second or third in one of the races, but you get first in the rest, I believe you can walk away with 2 gold stars. It depends on your number of points, I believe. I don't remember what the threshold is, but I do know that if you get like 50 to like, I want to say like 55, you only get the gold trophy. You don't get the stars. You just get the trophy. So my goal is 3 gold stars, 60 full points in all the Grand Prix. It's not easy.
No, it's not.
So that's what I'm obsessed with doing. And it's probably what I'm going to do after this episode. Maybe my book is really good. So we shall see. So yeah, our obsessions, you are obsessed with cookies and I'm obsessed with Mario Kart.
Great obsessions.
I love it. I feel like in the past it would have been flip-flopped.
That is true.
So, our paranormal thrillers for today, I feel like we have a good variety. Of course, they're all paranormal thrillers, so there's really no need to say what genre all of these are. But I'm very excited. I am not familiar with a lot of these authors, but I'm familiar with some. However, these are books that I have not read yet, but I'm very much looking forward to. So my first one is Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. And this one is actually sitting on my shelf as we speak. So who knows? Maybe I'll read it soon. What was it like living in that house? Maggie Holt is used to such questions. 25 years ago, she and her parents moved into Bainbury Hall, a rambling Victorian estate in the Vermont woods. They spent 3 weeks there before fleeing in the dead of night, an ordeal her dad later recounted in a nonfiction book called House of Horrors. His tale of ghostly happenings and encounters with malevolent spirits became a worldwide phenomenon, rivaling the Amityville horror in popularity and skepticism. Today, Maggie is a restorer of old homes and too young to remember any of the events mentioned in her father's book, but she also doesn't believe a word of it. Ghosts, after all, don't exist. When Maggie inherits Bainbury Hall after her father's death, she returns to renovate the place to prepare it for sale. But her homecoming is anything but warm. People from the past, chronicled in House of Horrors, lurk in the shadows, and locals aren't thrilled that their small town has been made infamous thanks to Maggie's father. Even more unnerving is Bainbury Hall itself, a place filled with relics from another era that hint at a history of dark deeds. As Maggie experiences strange occurrences straight out of her father's book, she starts to believe that what he wrote was more fact than fiction. Ooh, spooky. So I'm looking forward to reading it. I have read some Riley Sager books in the past, 2 to be exact. I read The Last Time I Lied and Final Girls. Really liked The Last Time I Lied, really did not like Final Girls. So I'm 1 for 2. We will see how this one goes, I guess. He is hit or miss with a lot of people, so I've heard. So we will see if Home Before Dark knocks it out of the park for me. I'm hoping it does. It sounds like an interesting concept. Haunted house, that kind of thing. Ghost stories. I'll try it. So we'll see. It's on my shelf. I might as well give it a go. That is Home Before Dark by Riley Sager.
I am noticing a common trend between paranormal thrillers. They seem to very often involve some sort of old book or old house.
Yes, because I feel like most of them surround the haunted house theme.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just because of the season or if that's just a common trope, but I have noticed that. It's all new. I'm unfamiliar with this genre.
Yeah, hey, it's fresh and exciting.
First up on my list is Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulak. Fresh out of rehab, Mallory Quinn takes a job in the affluent suburb of Springbrook, New Jersey, as a babysitter for Ted and Caroline Maxwell. She is to look after their 5-year-old son, Teddy. Mallory immediately loves this new job. She lives in the Maxwells' pool house, goes for nightly runs, and has the stability she craves, and sincerely bonds with Teddy, a sweet, shy boy who is never without his sketchbook and pencil. His drawings are the usual fare, trees, rabbits, balloons, but one day he draws something different, a man in a forest dragging a woman's lifeless body. As the days pass, Teddy's artwork becomes more and more sinister, and his stick figures steadily evolve into more detailed, complex, and lifelike sketches well beyond the ability of a 5-year-old boy. Mallory begins to suspect these are glimpses of unsolved murders from long ago, perhaps replayed by the supernatural force lingering in the forest behind the Maxwells' house. I love this idea. I love this concept.
Isn't this a movie?
That's what I thought too when I read it. It sounds so familiar, but I didn't check or anything. I just love this concept. I think this would make for an amazing story. And out of all of mine, I think this is the one that I probably would read most likely out of all of them.
I'm pretty sure Hidden Pictures is a movie.
It could be. I'll have to search it up.
It sounds very familiar, but yes, that does sound good. And I've seen a lot of people actually reading it lately on Bookstagram, and people really like it. So I'm hoping it's as good as it seems.
There does not appear to be a movie. There's one called Hidden Figures.
Oh, maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
You might be. It's from 2016.
Okay.
It is not the same thing as the book.
Okay.
Definitely different, but.
All right. Well, I guess I was wrong, but that's fine. That's fine.
It would make for a good movie. I'd watch that.
It would make for a really good movie. Up next, I have The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. Upstate New York, 1982. Every small town like Fell, New York has a place like the Sundown Motel. Some customers are from out of town, passing through on their way to someplace better. Some are locals trying to hide their secrets. Viv Delaney works as the night clerk to pay for her move to New York City, but something isn't right at the Sundown, and before long, she's determined to uncover all of the secrets hidden there. Upstate New York, 2017. Carly Kirk has always been fascinated by her Aunt Viv, who disappeared from the Sundown before Carly was born. Using a small inheritance from when her mom dies, Carly leaves college to go to Fell to figure out what happened to her aunt 35 years ago. Soon, Carly is mirroring her aunt's life, working as the night clerk at the motel, which hasn't changed since 1982. The guest book is still handwritten, the rooms still have actual keys, and a haunting presence still lingers. Carly discovers that Viv had been trying to unravel mysteries of her own, including a possible serial killer working in Fell. If Carly can find the answers Viv was searching for, she might be able to solve the mystery that has haunted her family for years. I have never read a Simone St. James novel, but I have heard really good things from some friends of mine. So I am very much looking forward to finally reading one of her books. And this one sounds so interesting.
I was going to say that name, the author's name, sounded extremely familiar.
She is a very popular paranormal thriller writer.
Oh,
yes.
That would explain it.
Yes, she has a few in the paranormal realm. So I'm looking forward to checking out her stuff. I know one person who really likes her, so it's on my list. It's always been on my list. I've just never gotten around to reading one of her books yet, but I will.
Funny enough, my next one also takes place in upstate New York.
I feel like it's a common setting for a lot of thrillers, and I really don't know why.
I have no idea. Anyway, my next one is The Chill by Scott Carson. Far upstate, in New York's ancient forests, a drowned village lays beneath the dark, still waters of the Chilliwackee Reservoir. Early in the 20th century, the town was destroyed for the greater good, bringing water to millions living downstate. Or at least that's what the politicians from Manhattan insisted at the time. The local families, settled there since America's founding, were forced from their land, but they didn't move far, and some didn't move at all. Now, a century later, the repercussions of human arrogance are finally making themselves known. An inspector assigned to oversee the dam, dangerously neglected for decades, witnesses something inexplicable. It turns out that more than the village was left behind in the waters of the Chill when it was abandoned. The townspeople didn't evacuate without a fight. A dark prophecy remained, too, and the time has come for it to be fulfilled. Those who remember must ask themselves, who will be next? For sacrifices must be made. And as the dark waters begin to rise, the demand for the fresh sacrifice emerges from the deep. I think this one The premise sounds interesting. I would be very curious to see, because it sounds like there's like some sort of obviously dark prophecy or twist or something inside there. And so that's the part that I'm most curious about, which I guess means they did a good job with their description.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know why, but giving off like sea monster vibes to me.
Yeah, like Loch Ness Monster style.
A little bit, yeah. But it sounds good. So you'll have to let me know how that is. All right, my next one is Ask for Andrea by Noelle W. Ely. James Carson has gotten away with murder 3 times. What James doesn't know is that his 3 victims have found each other and that they're coming for him. Brescia, Megan, and Sky might be dead, but they're not gone, and they won't rest until they find a way to keep him from killing again. Short synopsis, but I feel like it gets the job done. Obviously, his victims have come back as ghosts, and they are going to find out a way to kill him. Duh.
That's interesting because you usually get, like all the ones we've been talking about, it's always from the side of the living, so to speak, that are going against the paranormal.
Uh-huh.
And this one's the opposite.
Uh-huh.
That's a really cool premise. I like that.
This is paranormal, but backwards. I've read one book by this author called Run on Red, and it was okay. But I don't like to just like one and done an author. So I figure this one sounds interesting enough and it has good enough reviews for me to give me the sense that this is probably one of this author's better works. So I'm very much looking forward to it, and I am very intrigued by how this story plays out. I just hope it's executed well.
Yeah, that's true. When you have a premise like that, I guess it does come out to execution because it could be, I could see a lot of ways that it could go wrong.
Yes. And I feel like it needs to be explained well within the story that these 3 victims of his are already dead.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I could see how it would be confusing if you didn't read the synopsis.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, because then it would be like, yeah, that would get really confusing.
Now I'm like even more curious, like if this story is told from the point of view of the killer or if it's told from the point of view of his dead victims who are trying to come together to kill him. Or maybe it's both points of view.
It could be. It'd be interesting if he's like, I wonder if there's like a little bit of a comedic effect in there, like he's trying to do something and he's getting thwarted by like random things falling off shelves or...
You know what? Run on Red was kind of like that. I wouldn't say it was like funny, but I would say it was just like ridiculous. So I would not be surprised if the author did like the same sort of thing with this one.
It might work with this story though, because of kind of the air of paranormal. So ridiculous things can happen, but...
That's true. It's a ghost story, so things that happen don't necessarily have to make sense.
Exactly. Might work in the author's favor.
I'll have to look it up. I hope this is on Kindle Unlimited. I didn't look. It's like giving the vibe that it might be.
All right. Next on my list is The Winter People by Jennifer McMahon. West Hall, Vermont has always been the town of strange disappearances and old legends. The most mysterious is that of Sarah Harrison Shea, who in 1908 was found dead in the field behind her house just months after the tragic death of her daughter. Now, in present day, 19-year-old Ruthie lives in Sarah's farmhouse with her mother, Alice, and her younger sister. Alice has always insisted that they live off the grid, a decision that has weighty consequences when Ruth wakes up one morning to find that Alice has vanished. In her search for clues, she is startled to find a copy of Sarah's diary hidden beneath the floorboards of her mother's bedroom. As Ruthie gets sucked into historical mystery, she discovers that she's not the only person looking for someone that they've lost, but she may be the only one who can stop history from repeating itself.
This sounds amazing. I must read this. I love historical fiction. I love thrillers. This sounds like the perfect blend of both of them.
Yeah, I read this one and I was like, I like it. This seems interesting. But then I was like, I think Rachel would love this one.
It sounds like my jam.
This gives off like, I never did go back and finish it yet, but like the Good Daughter vibes to me.
You need to finish that one. The Good Daughter by Karen Slaughter. So good.
I do need to go back and read that one.
Karen Slaughter's only downfall, in my opinion, is the super long chapters.
That's kind of what ruined it for me. Not ruined it, that's not the right word, but that's what was hard to keep my focus, is I was have to dedicate like 45 minutes or an hour to just reading a singular chapter because it goes on for so long.
Well, maybe you should see if the library has the ebook, because I feel like I read faster when I have an ebook.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe I'll take a stab at it.
But yes, this one by Jennifer McMahon sounds amazing. I was actually eyeing that one too when I was putting together this list, but I ultimately did not choose it for I have no idea what reason. But it sounds amazing and I must read. I've heard great things about Jennifer McMahon's books.
That one will have to go on the list.
It's going to have to go on the list. I'm going to have to add that to my TBR as soon as we're done with this.
And that was The Winter People.
All right, my last paranormal thriller is The Return by Rachel Harrison. Julie is missing, and no one believes she will ever return, except Elise. Elise knows Julie better than anyone and feels it in her bones that her best friend is out there and that one day Julie will come back. She's right. 2 years to the day that Julie went missing, she reappears with no memory of where she's been or what happened to her. Along with Molly and May, their two close friends from college, the women decide to reunite at a remote inn. But the second Elise sees Julie, she knows something is wrong. She's emaciated, with sallow skin and odd appetites. And as the weekend unfurls, it becomes impossible to deny that the Julie who vanished 2 years ago is not the same Julie who came back. But then who or what is she? So I have enjoyed Rachel Harrison's books, and this is one I have not read yet. It's actually her debut from 2020, and I've heard some good things about it. So I'm excited to check it out and see what is up with Julie, because I'm just like, how in the what? Like, what is happening here? The synopsis intrigues me to no end. I must know.
Yeah, that one does sound super interesting. The whole like, I don't know what she is or what she could be. I really like that kind of plot point.
She's got to be like some sort of ghost now or something.
Right, or like a zombie or something. I don't really know.
I didn't even think of zombies.
I also love the term feels it in her bones. I don't know why. I've just always loved that. Can feel it in my bones term.
You never felt anything in your bones?
No, I say it all the time. Or at least I used to say it all the time.
Like you can feel the cold in your bones, like if you go outside when it's like negative 20 degrees out.
Yeah. I love that term. It's a great, I don't know what that's called, phrase?
Yeah.
Turn a phrase? Is that what they say?
A phrase, yeah, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, Rachel Harrison is an amazing author, and I'm looking forward to picking up that one. That's The Return by Rachel Harrison.
All right, last up on my list, which again takes place in New York, Relic by Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child. Just days before a massive exhibition opens at popular New York Museum of Natural History, visitors are being savagely murdered in the museum's dark hallways and secret rooms. Autopsies indicate that the killer cannot be human. But the museum's director plans to go ahead with the big bash to celebrate the new exhibition, in spite of the murders. Museum researcher Margot Green must find out who or what is doing the killing. But can she do it in time to stop the massacre?
I've always been intrigued by books that like take place around like a museum. It's always been an interesting setting for me.
I think this one lends itself well because of the paranormal in the museum. I also love the premise of it being like a monster of some kind.
It's like the night of the museum.
Yeah, a little bit. It's got that vibe. Like I wonder if like one of the things are coming to life, or, you know, could be a whole slew of different things. But I think this was a very interesting premise.
It sounds really good.
I like it because it gets away from the ghost aspect while still being like paranormal and haunted kind of.
Right. I wonder if it's one of the exhibits coming to life.
Right. Like maybe it's getting possessed by a ghost, or maybe it's, I don't know, a spirit of some kind. I think this one is very interesting. And I think this was a relatively short read. I know according to Storygraph, it had very fast pacing. So this one could be a quick one if you're just looking for a nice, quick paranormal thriller.
Well, these all sound spookily fantastic.
Is that a new word? I don't know if anyone's ever said that before.
Spookily? I think it's a word.
Spookily fantastic.
Oh, I mean, phrase again, not a word.
Oh, I assumed that it was just all like one word.
Oh, no. But these sound very haunted in the best kind of way. I'm very intrigued by all of them, and I never thought I would be very intrigued by ghost stories, but these all sound like they have really promising plots, and I just hope that they are executed well.
I agree. I think also all the ones that we talked about have unique plot lines. Like there's things that I haven't heard before come up in this, which I guess is a really kind of a testament to paranormal thrillers. Like not all ghost stories are the same. You can still have interesting things with them.
Exactly, and not all of them have to be believable.
True. I like that. Suspend your reality a little bit and have the ridiculousness of a ghost story. I think it's a good thing to do every once in a while.
I mean, personally, I don't really have a problem with unrealistic things happening in books. I guess the only time I have an issue with it is when the rest of the story is super realistic and then like one like super ridiculous thing happens where I'm like, that would never happen.
Yeah, that's kind of how I am too. I mean, obviously I read a ton of fantasy and, not real
like,
things happen all the time.
Fantasy's allowed to do that.
Right, but it's the same premise that you mentioned. Like if you establish a story and all of these different things are like realistic, or maybe they're not, they follow this kind of rule set, you can't just come out of left field and do something crazy or ridiculous. Like it has to make sense.
Right.
Exactly. And I think ghost stories are a cool kind of way to do that, because then you can throw in a touch or two of ridiculousness without, completely ruining maybe the premise or the world that you've already built or something like that. It's like a cheat code.
Yeah.
You can have something silly happen if you want, because ghosts, without being too crazy, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the whole point of reading is to like escape reality anyway. So why not throw in something that would never actually happen?
That's like sometimes people read, I've read nonfiction, so I'm not going to like talk bad about it, but I know some people who read nonfiction and it's like about, say World War II. It's like, don't you want to like, I don't know, read about like elves and dwarves and something? Like we spent so much time in school learning about all that stuff, and you're like, hey, you know what I'm going to do for fun? Go read more about that stuff.
Yeah, but you don't learn everything about it in school.
Well,
you learn
no,
like
that's true.
surface level events that happened. There's obviously way more to something as big as World War II than what you learn in school.
Well, yes. Listen, I'm not bashing on it. I've read the stuff. I just think it's funny when someone like exclusively goes for nonfiction, because sometimes, you need to let go of the reality a little bit.
Well, I choose to read historical fiction instead of nonfiction because I really do not like nonfiction.
I think that's fair.
Although I guess some could argue that historical fiction is not always 100% historically accurate anyway. That's why it's called historical fiction.
Right, but I think that really does depend on the author who's writing it.
I have read some historical fiction books that are actually like really truly based on real events.
Right.
And they're always the most fascinating.
Yeah, the ones where the only fiction part would be like,
The people.
Right, the people, or like in-depth conversations happening between people or something like that.
Right. Those are so interesting to me because I'm like, what? What do you mean this was like real?
Right, like this actually happened. Somebody was here. Like, yeah, that stuff is really cool.
Yeah. So anyway, great paranormal thrillers, but I am looking forward to hearing what you are going to be reading this week.
This week, I will be finishing The Tower of Swallow, the Witcher book. And then I'm going to do what I did last time, and I'm going to take a small break between the Witchers'. And that's because I've learned my lesson, and he loves to recap the previous book, so I can take some time away. And I think I'm going to start the next Akotar book, whatever that one is called.
It is called A Court of Mist and Fury.
Yes, that one. Akamath.
You should read it. It is my favorite in the series.
That'll probably be next. I might try to sprinkle something else here or there. We'll see. I did actually start, I forgot to mention this earlier, the Master and Margarita, which is a very old book about the Soviet Union, and it has like religious overtones, undertones. I don't know really what you, I mean, there's literally the story of like Jesus in there and stuff, but I think I'm going to have to DNF it. And not because I don't like it, it's just, I think because it's so old and like I don't know enough about Soviet Russia that I feel like a lot of it is kind of lost on me.
Is it more of like, is it very informative?
Kind of, yes. Like a lot of like the big name people that they talk about, I just don't know who they are. And I think if I knew more about Soviet Russia, I would know who these people are and like what their significance is. And they talk about like these different authors and poets and scientists and philosophers. And a lot of it is just, again, kind of lost on me. Like I don't really understand their significance or their importance. That said, the writing is very good. The story has, I really like it. I'm just kind of like lost in who these people are because it doesn't do a great job of like explaining who they are. And again, I think it's because you're supposed to go, oh, that's this person. Like that's who they're analogous to, that kind of thing. Because it was written for or at the times of the Soviet Union. And so at the time, it was depicted as like the most accurate portrayal that someone has written about of what life was like back then for the people that lived in Russia. So again, I think if you knew what it was or knew who these people are supposed to be, then it would make a lot more sense. It's kind of like Animal Farm. Like if you were to just read it, I don't think a lot of people would understand it. But when you actually go into like who these people are supposed to be, the dictators and the rulers and all that kind of stuff, then you're like, oh, it makes way more sense.
I never read Animal Farm.
Oh, it's a good story. It's just, again, it's one of those like, it's all analogous to real life.
Well, maybe you need to read a nonfiction book on the Soviet Union.
I guess so. I was just bashing on it, but maybe I'll have to school myself and learn a little bit and then come back to it. I think if you're somebody who's like a history buff and you know a lot about like the 1930s and 1940s Soviet Union, this would probably be incredible and you would probably love it. And it's, again, got these kind of like religious tie-ins to it because the whole premise is it's the devil and he's visiting the Soviet Union. And so there's all these religious stories tied into it. And again, extremely interesting, just kind of a little bit lost on me. So I might have to come back to it at a later point.
Well, we are reading very different things at the moment. I have decided to pick up the third in the FBI Profiler series by Lisa Gardner. It is called The Next Accident, and I'm a little over halfway through with it, and I'm absolutely loving it. So the FBI Profiler series basically follows this one FBI agent, Pierce Quincy, and it's like diving into his life a little bit now. And we do have another recurring character now that was introduced in the last book. And she's back in this book. Her name is Rainey Connor. And she is now a private investigator. And she is working with Pierce Quincy in this book to figure out what happened on the night that his daughter died. And this is an incident that happened in the previous book. So I do like that it is continuing that a little bit because that did seem a little suspicious. So I do like that. And just the way everything is unfolding, I'm like, Lisa Gardner is a genius. There are all these tie-ins from the previous two books. And I'm like, this is amazing, because one would think you might be able to read these as standalones, but really I do not recommend reading the FBI Profiler series as standalones because of what I am now seeing are reoccurrences from previous books. So this one, The Next Accident, is actually laid out in a really interesting way because we do have Agent Pierce Quincy who has hired Rainey Connor, who he met in the previous book. They worked on a case together. He has hired her to investigate his daughter's death from 14 months ago because he believes something fishy happened there because she supposedly was super drunk when she ran her car into a pole and killed a man and his dog. However, she was also in AA and she had been sober. So he does not fully believe that she became intoxicated on her own. He thinks there was foul play involved. So Rainey Connor is investigating this. She goes all the way across the country from Oregon to Philadelphia to figure out what happened on that night. And the things they are uncovering, it's just, whoa. It's like reminding me of a Criminal Minds episode, because they are kind of discovering that somebody out there is impersonating FBI agent Pierce Quincy.
That's cool. I like that.
It's so good. It's so good. I'm loving this series so far. And this book is just, it is miles better than the previous book in the series, The Third Victim. Because The Third Victim, I gave 4 stars and I thought it was okay compared to the first one I read, which was The Perfect Husband. And that was like a mind-blowing 5 stars. This one I think is on track to be 5 stars again. It's just amazing.
I was going to say that second one, I think it took you a bit of time to get through that. It didn't
did.
seem like you loved it, but this one, like you said, you're already halfway through it. You're like flying through it.
Yeah, it is so, so good. And I think it's because I'm realizing that Lisa Gardner is a genius. Even though I already knew she was a genius because I'm obsessed with her Frankie Elkin books. That's a whole other series that she's written about an amateur detective. But this one, I just love that she's bringing back both Pierce Quincy and Rainey Connor from the second book. So I wonder if she's going to like keep them now as like recurring characters in the rest of the series.
Maybe. It seems like it fits well if you seem to be loving those characters, so why not?
I do really like them, and it makes me upset when I read Goodreads reviews and everyone's like, I hate both of the characters. And I'm like, what is wrong with them? I'm not finding any issue with them. Yeah, they're both like a little hot-headed, but that's why they work so well together.
I think that it's so funny when that happens. Like, I'll read a book or a series and I'll be like, oh man, I loved this character. And then I go and like see a review or multiple reviews and they're all just like, this book was amazing, but that one character was the worst. And I'm like, oh, I like that one.
It's like, I like them. I don't know, like, am I wrong?
Maybe I'm the weird one. Oh no.
I don't know, but it's so good. And everything that's being unveiled, I'm just like, wow.
That's cool. I wonder if she had that plot like all along and now it's like all coming together, or if it was one of those like spur of the moment just happened to work out. I'm always curious.
Because so the first book in the series, The Perfect Husband, was more of our introduction to FBI agent Pierce Quincy. And then book 2, there's really nothing the same other than Pierce Quincy, who then meets Lorraine Connor, aka Rainey, who is working in the Bakersfield Police Department, and they investigate a school shooting together. That's the second book. And the second book also reveals that Pierce Quincy's daughter had been killed. And now in the third book, they've brought back Pierce Quincy and Rainey Connor, and they are diving deeper into his daughter's death. So it's just all like a domino effect now, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Love to hear it.
Yep. So that's what I'm currently reading, The Next Accident by Lisa Gardner, part of the FBI Profiler series. And now I really want to pick it up and read it and finish it. I'm going to finish it today. I bet you I am.
I'm going to try to finish mine today too.
Oh, it's just so good. It's a perfect day for reading too. I'm loving the fall weather. It's like nice and cold outside now, but not too cold. I can have the windows open and it's a nice breeze. But like at night, it gets super cold and the heat goes on and I'm all cozy under the blankets. It's the kind of weather I love.
It's the perfect weather, in my opinion. This is the best time of the year.
And it's perfect reading weather. I feel like I'm slowly getting out of my slump again because the weather has been so perfect for reading. Like, I love sitting outside in my blanket hoodie, slippers on, sun on my face, book open. It's perfect. The perfect vibe. Maybe some coffee with me. I'm picturing it now in my head.
I was going to say, I'm just letting you have your moment. You've got it all built out.
Yeah, so I'm very much looking forward to that. And I hope everyone has a wonderful reading week. Maybe one of these paranormal thrillers that we've discussed will speak to you and you'll feel like reading it in front of a campfire, like a traditional ghost story. Maybe you can get the flashlight and hold it in front of your face.
like the underneath the blankets, holding up the flashlight in the middle of the night. I think everyone should do that. I think you should pick one of these and you should do that. Even if it's not a ghost story, just do that for the sake of Halloween.
Or read it out loud around the campfire with the flashlight under your face.
Oh, yeah.
So you look all creepy.
In front of ideally a group of younger people, so that way you scare them like children.
Yes, yes. But don't scare them too much because that's just mean.
No, just a little scare.
A little scared where they're just like, oh,
Yeah,
scary.
right. Cartoon style, like they huddle together.
Anyway, I hope you have a fabulous week. Pick up a good book. Maybe sit outside. It's going to be nice out. And happy reading.